Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Thank you for surviving week 8 here as the Falcons drop the worst game of the season. This is worse than the Panthers game, guys. This is worse than the Panthers game. The worst game of the season to the 1-6 Miami Dolphins, a team that most people thought they should have fired their head coach last week because they were playing so poorly. Come out here and absolutely spank the Falcons in their home building. There were reasons to think that the Falcons might not win a blowout game today, and I think that would have been okay to just survive a game against, a Dolphins team that is clearly not lacking talent, but was just not able to get off the mat most weeks. And to come out here and deliver this type of performance against arguably the worst defense in the NFL, I think it really sort of solidifies the issues that we have here. And that's what we're going to get into here on the Falcoholic Live, presented, of course, by FanDuel. And I'm here with Allen Strk. And Allen, rough game. I'm glad you survived. Thank you for joining us here after this real stinker today.
Folks, this is going to be a ruthless one. Look, obviously we're professional and everything, but there is nothing positive to say, and there are people that need to be held accountable because couldn't agree more with you, Kev. This is by far worse than the Panthers game because, look, say we want the Panthers, they're somewhat respectable. They're not good, but they're kind of like an adult team. If you follow the NFL moderately closely, the Dolphins are a bottom 3 team in the league. They couldn't be more dysfunctional. Every week there's a new press conference where Tua puts his foot in his mouth or Mike McDaniel just looks lost. Their defense, I think, is the worst in the league, although the Bengals are probably saying something right now about that. This Dolphins team's atrocious, and the Falcons did not look competitive against them. And in both ways, because as much as been praising his defense, and I know they're missing several players, but look, this defense has to be held accountable too. And the offensive line was atrocious, and oh man, anyone that had those Kirk Cousins takes, I hope anyone listening did not say Kirk Cousins would be an upgrade because as we've been seeing for since last November, Kirk Cousins is just done as an NFL player.
Yeah. This was a week for takes, but not the kind we wanted, Alan. And we did get answers to some questions that people were asking. And for those of you really wondering if the scheme was the problem or if it was Michael Penix, there were a lot of people that were very hot on Michael Penix and blaming him for a lot of the issues here. And I think after today, Alan, I feel more confident than ever that Michael Penix has not been perfect. No one's saying that he is. He hasn't even been, I would say, much above average. I think he's been an average starter roughly. But I think it would be hard to look better than an average starter in this scheme because I think even Raheem Morris came out today and admitted, it seemed like the Dolphins had a read on our plays. Everyone has a read on your plays. And shout out to I'm gonna mess up the name now. I had it coming into the show, but pointed out they have specific motions they run for specific plays. They don't homogenize their motions or marry the pass and run game, so you can track a motion on every single play and know exactly the play call. I mean, this is not NFL coaching.
I think his name's Todd DeSena.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah.
Great breakdown. I highly recommend checking it out. And yeah, everything's just telegraphed. And you saw it with the Niners last week. These teams are anticipating. It was cool the first year, the whole Charlie Warner, we're going to put him in motion. He's going to go block the beat gap. But teams have spot that now. And they're easily telegraphing it. They easily collide wherever they want to go. And I think we're also seeing the personnel limitations. I thought this was Ryan Newsom's worst game. Elijah Wilkinson probably it had its run. I just don't think he should probably be starting.
Yeah, and he made it this far. That's pretty much a miracle. So good for him. As a swing tackle, Wilkinson, I would consider it. That's better than I think anyone thought he would be. But it's time. Storm Norton will probably be back next week, so at least maybe that will have finally some relief there. But yeah, you're absolutely right there. Yeah.
So we're seeing the personnel limitations, but it's just everything is telegraphed and I understand they couldn't really push the ball downfield, but we're just seeing they don't attack in between the numbers. Unless maybe it's with Kyle Pitts or it's a check down, but everything is just outside the numbers. If they want to push the ball downfield, forget the screen game. That's non-existent. It's a lackadaisical, and more teams are going to read on it. And I don't care. Look, you got one of the great top playmakers in the league in Bijan Robinson. He's going to get neutralized, and we saw it today. So this is a huge, you have to look in the mirror and really reassess everything at this point. And I do think if they're going to make decisive action after this, Zac Robinson has to be the culprit.
Yeah, I think that's the first place you go. I personally, and we'll get to it, I personally think this is the unofficial end of the Raheem Morris era. I think this is really the nail in the coffin. I don't think he's going to be fired anytime soon, to be clear. Like, I think he's probably going to make it through the season. They're probably still going to win like 8 games, guys. I mean, like, I know this was a terrible game, but they're probably still going to win like 7 to 8 games. But like I think this is kind of it. Like this is it for me. I think this was just such a screaming red flag for all of the issues that we've pointed out. They've been there in spurts, even in the wins, but when you're winning, you're able to paper over some of these things and think you could build on them. When you're losing, it's a lot harder to do that. And today, I think it all kind of came to a head once again. And like I tweeted out, like, everybody gets one stinker. The Bills had a stinker against the Falcons, which is probably going to look like their most embarrassing game of the year in hindsight, right? Everybody gets a stinker, even the best teams in the league. It's going to happen. It's a long season. Everybody in the NFL is good. Like, they're not like good in terms of like maybe they're not a good NFL team, but these are all professional football players. You're going to have bad games, but 2 stinkers is where you start to really question, because you just can't have games like this, not against the worst teams on your schedule.
Exactly. And yeah, it's a long season. You look at teams like the Packers. The Packers have kind of like underperformed a bit, but it's just when you have the body language is all wrong, no one's executing, play calling. It's just, like I said, they're playing the opponents has anticipating every sort of route. They're anticipating the runs. It's just, what is there to be like? There's no scheme diversion. Like they can't affect anything. Like when it comes to opposing defensive coach, it's just like, okay, we know their motions, we know that wide outside zone run scheme, and we know they can't really push the ball downfield unless it's outside numbers and maybe Drake London is playing. But it's just, I think you also have to look at how they built this roster offensively. Like they didn't make any moves this offseason, and they kind of looked at it like, okay, things will progress going to the next year with the same offensive coordinator, but you usually don't see teams do as well when you make literally no signings, no moves for your offensive personnel. So I think that has to be assessed as well. So yeah, I think when it comes like, you have to look at the mirror, it all comes down to roster building. And I think they felt fallen in that aspect to go along with just the lack of involvement as coaching. Like, I would love to know, what did they spend time doing this offseason from an offensive standpoint? How are we going to diversify our passes, and then how are we going to expand on the run game? Because it seems like a lot from last year, and everyone's got to read on it.
Yeah, it's rough. And also welcome in Adnan Ikic. Adnan, that was a rough game. I figured we'd hear from you today, because I think this is right up your alley. I mean, I think you've been one of the more aggressive sort of analysts in terms of calling out the issues with Raheem Morris, and I think you were kind of on the more of the aggressive side in terms of feeling like it was time to move on, and that he was kind of a non-starter as a coach. Has that basically been fully calcified for you at this point after week 8?
Oh, honestly, yeah. Like, here's the thing. I'm taking my Raheem Morris should have been fired back in January victory laps today. I don't like these victory laps because it just means that this franchise has been set back by like 2 years. But yeah, I tried to give it a chance with Raheem Morris after the team like announced the hiring, because it's like, what else am I supposed to do? Just like, just complain about it from like day one. It's like, oh, okay, like, he's been hired. He deserves a chance. He deserves a go. I could not see the justification at all in keeping him after last season. I mean, we talked about it after the 49ers game with Corey on that very late midnight show, which lasted until like 1 a.m. from what I remember, in that, like, Raheem Morris came in here as a ready-made head coach in year one. He wasn't supposed to have those like, rookie issues and the rookie difficulties that a first-year head coach has. And you saw nothing but that in year one. And you saw the team in what had to be a playoff season, what had to be a year where, after they invested everything they invested in Kirk Cousins, in that roster and everything, you saw him hinder that team's chances at making the playoffs. And you saw the team fall flat on its face. I don't think there was any justification at all in going into year 2 with him or with Terry Fontenot. Honestly, it's not year 2 for Terry Fontenot. This is year 5 for Terry Fontenot, looking like it may be another losing season. That would be 5 for 5 in losing seasons. I heard you, Alan, talking about the roster construction too, about how flawed it's been. Well, I mean, the general manager's had every single resource at his disposal over the past few seasons, and they even let him trade next year's first rounder to build that ready-made roster this year. And by the way, that pick may be looking juicy for the Rams, considering what the Falcons have coming up in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's awful. Like, genuinely, it sort of just showed me just where this franchise is going, like the actual aspirations that Arthur Blank has for this franchise. And at this point, it's like you just have to start calling it out at the top. Like, I feel like Arthur Blank has been a very, very subpar owner for the past number of years. He's a very good man. He's done a lot for the community. Very philanthropic, great person, but genuinely, he's made poor choice after poor choice, and just the decision to even hire Raheem Morris, to go with the retread from a past coaching tree that was just an absolute failure for you. And I mean, Morris was in the building years ago. They let him go, and then they brought him back, 3 years later? It just sort of shows you that Arthur Blank sort of cares more about, his friends and the whole buddy thing than he does about, putting together an actual, winning team. It took him way too long to fire Dan Quinn. I'm worried that he may repeat the same mistake with Raheem Morris this year. I know he didn't want to fire Arthur Smith, but he was forced to, because that team would just completely unravel down the stretch. Maybe they'll take the decision out of his hands again this year with Raheem Morris. I feel like he's taken way too long to move on from Terry Fontenot. I mean, dude, go way back. Rich McKay was a failure as a general manager here, and Arthur Blank promoted him. Like, he's just, I kind of feel like he's too soft to really be a successful owner in this league. And yeah, honestly, like, we can talk about the game. We can go through the analysis. The team looked like shit today. Looked completely unprepared, looked completely outcoached by a Miami team that was just zombies coming into this week. Like, that Dolphins team, the vibes could not have been worse. Like, Tua and Mike McDaniel were verbally sparring via the press this week. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it was absolutely, like, putrid. And to lose, not just to lose to that team, to let that team come into your house and to just beat the shit out of you. Yeah, I mean, it just tells you everything you need to know about how unprepared this team has been, and it just gives you an idea of the state of the franchise. So I mean, yeah, we can talk about the game, but at the end of the day, none of it really matters, given that the decision makers, who the decision makers are at the top, and the decisions that they continue to make. Because tomorrow they may fire Zac Robinson. He's just going to be another scapegoat. Zac Robinson has not done a good job. That's one where I'm throwing my hands up and I'm saying I was completely wrong. I really like the
same. I think a lot of people were high on him. Yeah, it's not just us.
Yeah. Not every McVay guy hits, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we got
as we've learned. We got the dud. Yeah, we got the one dud. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's like I'm just saying I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I'm wrong about that one. It is what it is.
Most people are. A lot of people are high on him.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I think justifiably so, though. Like, again,
and he's just going to be the latest scapegoat. There's no real changes that are going to be made until Fontenot's gone, until Morris is gone. And honestly, I'm scared that there's not really going to be any change until Arthur Blank's no longer the owner. But, we'll see about that last one.
What's very fitting is that next week they play the Patriots, and they had 2 interviews with Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel is a proven winner. People could say, people might not like his style, they might not like his personality, but those Titan teams consistently played hard. They always overachieved. They were a joy to watch, and they had this physical bruising element to them. It's just like, you are not going to bully us. And it wasn't just a Derrick Henry thing. Like, they were a 1 seed in the AFC in 2021, and this is AFC with Holmes, Josh Allen, etc. Yeah. So, like, they had Mike Vrabel there.
Yeah.
Vrabel was my guy outside of Ben Johnson. He completely changed the Titans culture. I feel like he would have changed the Falcons culture, but instead they went with a guy that is just a continuation of the culture that they just had.
Yeah. We do have plenty of questions coming in. Thank you guys for that. We get to a couple here before we continue on our conversation. We got Corey with the 5 said, Kevin, when Raheem was hired, you said in the first few minutes of the podcast, maybe you mean like the podcast immediately after he was hired. He was in my top 3. Yes, he was number 3, and definitely someone I like, but was not my top choice. Yeah. And what was it about Morris that made you feel optimistic? Yeah, I mean, there were several things. So my number 1 was Ben Johnson. Anyone that didn't have Ben Johnson number 1, I would question, right? It didn't seem like he was really a major candidate for them. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. I didn't have Harbaugh in my top 3 because I really didn't think he was considering the job seriously at all, which was true. He wasn't. Number 2 was Bobby Slowick, which seems like that would have maybe been disastrous as well. But Raheem Morris was 3 because I think Raheem Morris does have the relationships to get a good staff. It just so worked. This was before we knew he was bringing in Jimmy Lake, which I don't think anyone liked that hire, to be honest with you. But I thought he had the relationships to build a good staff. He has a great rapport with the players, which is important. That is part of the job. And he had been coming off a tremendous season as a defensive coordinator for the Rams, where, took him to a Super Bowl and had put together some good years there. He had experience on both sides of the ball. There was reason to believe that he could have taken a step from when he was given a head coaching opportunity when he was way too young and inexperienced, right? I think pretty much anyone could agree that like that first stint was not really much of he was set up to fail, more or less. So I think it was fair to think that he could have grown in more than 10 years of being an assistant coach and a coordinator, and it just didn't work out. But I do think that my main beef with the hire was that I don't believe in hiring a head coach that's not an offensive play caller, simply because if you hit on one, which is the most important thing you can do right now with coaching, hitting on an offensive play caller that delivers you a good scheme is the most important part of team building from a coaching perspective at this stage. If he's not your head coach, you're going to lose him sooner or later. And, we've seen teams survive it. The Bucs have done a tremendous job with surviving it year after year, and the Lions appear to have been able to make a good transition. And if your head coach is good enough, then you can get away with it. But my biggest beef with Morris is that he didn't bring anything to the offensive side, and he did bring Zac Robinson, who I think everyone was excited about. And people that were telling you they were not excited about seeing Zac Robinson, probably not remembering correctly. Again, I think we've talked about this before. The Arthur Smith hire, it didn't work out, but it was good process because Arthur Smith showed you everything you wanted to see to make you think that his offensive scheme was worth buying into. Tremendous in the red zone, tremendous on third down, had delivered with a non-elite quarterback. Like, these are all the hallmarks that you like to see of an up-and-coming offensive coordinator. Unfortunately, Smith didn't work, but that was the right process. Unfortunately, the Falcons learned the wrong lesson from that, which is like, oh, we can't trust young offensive coordinators. No, you just hired the wrong guy, but the process was good. And that was my main question with Morris is like, well, are we just, even if Zac Robinson works out, are we just going to be looking for another OC in 2 years? And, seems like that's not going to be a concern at this point, unfortunately. But then we got George saying, can we fire Raheem and Zac before the press conference so we can be spared the word salad? Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think anyone moves fast enough for that, George. But are we sure Arthur Smith was the problem? I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Arthur Smith was the problem too. But yeah,
watch the Steelers put up like 34 tonight. We got to hear about Arthur Smith. Like, look, no, Arthur Smith was the problem.
Yeah, he was definitely not fulfilling his head coach obligations. Let's be honest. But
And
maybe he's one of those guys.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe he's one of those guys that just needs to be a coordinator. I think Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, like these are all guys that are just better coordinators, and there's literally nothing wrong with that. Yeah, Raheem Morris, right? Exactly. So sometimes that's just the case, and the Falcons have missed several times in a row, and that's why they're in this predicament. AJ Evans says, I think Raheem bet the Dolphins money line. I have proof, just trust me. Okay, get ready for Brian Kelly as head coach. We're not having that conversation. Brian Kelly's not getting any NFL interest. I know that was tongue-in-cheek, but there's no way he's getting any NFL interest.
And maybe they try to bring in Brent Key. He can't lose over Georgia Tech now.
That's right. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Now, Arthur Blank would never bring in a college coach,
Never.
because that one burned him like 18 years ago. So he's going to hold on to that for the rest of his life.
Yep. We got Solaire with the 2 saying, "Fools, you had hope. There's no escaping draft takes." Excuse me, Solaire, for trying to avoid draft takes when we have no first-round pick. All right, excuse me for thinking that I could get away with something like that. Apparently not.
My draft season is going to be so depressing this year, bro.
Yeah, especially since they can't trade Kirk Cousins because they just showed the entire NFL how ass he is. So say goodbye to a possible pick from Cousins. We're going to have to eat the bonus. No one's signing or trading for Kirk Cousins. No, he's a disaster. So.
No, but by the way, I also wanted to just cut Cousins at the beginning of the year to save that $10 million bonus.
Well,
so
fair enough.
I'm continuing the victory laps. I've been right about a lot, which I was hoping I wouldn't be. But, it is what it is. I'm leaving here with something today.
There you go. Okay. Mark Bigby with the 5 saying, "Falcons are a dumpster fire and Raheem is over there roasting marshmallows." Yeah, I mean, well, if you've got a fire right there, I mean, you might as well roast some marshmallows while you're at it. But I prefer we were actually putting the fire out personally. But maybe if the dumpster is too deep and the fire is too high, that just nothing else to do. Now, I'm not sure I would want to be like roasting marshmallows on like dumpster fumes. That seems questionable. Like, you're probably not getting a nice like fire roasted like wood flavor there. You're probably getting like burning plastic. But hey,
it's a good technical breakdown, Kev.
Yeah, of the dumpster fire roasting. So there's a lot of concerns I have with that analogy, but I understand what you're trying to say, Mark. We got Nico with the 2 saying, "How does that performance not reflect both arrogance and a lack of preparation by this coaching staff? Miscommunications by receivers, offensive line, penalties. Doesn't look like we could stop a Chihuahua from running the ball." Yeah, I mean, this is a good segue into kind of what we're talking about. Like, it's clear that Cousins wasn't prepared. I mean, there were 3 instances where he was just not throwing the ball to the route the receiver was running. Now, maybe it's the receiver's fault, but I mean, 3 times in a row, like 3 times it's the receiver's fault. I just don't really buy that personally. And so that's obviously something. The offensive line playing poorly, it doesn't make any sense to me. The Dolphins are not good up front, and they just got pantsed. And I think the biggest explanation is that the Dolphins knew exactly where they were running the ball. Because of the Y insert motion with Werner. Every time they run that motion, they run behind Werner. So they could just, the linebacker doesn't even have to react. He just goes to that gap. I mean, it takes all of the subterfuge out of the play. So I think the Dolphins knew what was coming, more or less, by just watching the motions that the Falcons were running. The penalties, yeah, I mean, that's been a consistent thing. The Falcons' false start at home every single week. Unacceptable. That's just basic stuff that you can't have. And in terms of the defense, they're playing JD Bertrand at middle linebacker. That's one of the most important positions on your defense. It affects every single thing that you're doing, whether it's zone drops, whether it's run plays, everything. And he's a ghost. The man didn't react to anything in front of him. He gets dragged on tackle attempts. He can't play. Like right now, like maybe at some point he can, and this is not like, I feel bad for Bertrand. He shouldn't even be on the field. Like, they should be having him as a deep reserve or playing Will or something, anything that doesn't make him have to like read and react. And like, this is a disservice to him as much as anyone, but the defense with Bertrand in the middle is terrible. Like, you can't paper over middle linebacker. You can't have that. Like, you just can't. Yeah.
That's a roster construction issue, and that goes back to the Cousins contract. I know that a lot of people had this idea of, oh, well, the Falcons drafted Michael Penix, so the Kirk Cousins signing doesn't matter. The Kirk Cousins signing still matters. It still mattered this past offseason when Kirk Cousins was taking up $40 million of your cap hit. It still mattered when you could not bring in any real depth. Like, Divine Diablo was a great signing. Unfortunately, he went down injured, but this team couldn't really make any moves because of that signing. It goes back to the Kirk Cousins debacle. And again, that's just poor DMing. Like, you wasted so many resources on a guy who's not even playing. And now the one time he does see the field, he looked very poor today. And it's just, that was my gripe with this defense coming into the season. I didn't have an issue with this if you could guarantee me that this defense was going to get a fully healthy season from every single defensive starter, then it's like, okay, we could have something. But that's not, it's the NFL. That doesn't happen. Like my gripe was there's no depth on this defense. What do you do when guys start going down? And lo and behold, we have one injury, Divine Diablo, and all of a sudden you have JD Bertrand who has to play the vast majority of snaps over the middle. Like this isn't feasible. This isn't sustainable.
Yeah, I can't understand. Like it was every drive there were egregious errors, and Ulbrich just refused to bench him. Like, and they had to watch. Like last week, it's like, okay, Kyle Shanahan's gonna put him in hell. We know that. They asked him to make a decision on every play, and he didn't respond. It's like, okay, I get it, but like, they should have been ready to pull the plug, like, if this started happening again. And it started happening immediately and over again. I don't know what it is that he brings right now, because he's not a tackler. He tackles very poorly. He's not a coverage player. They didn't ask him to blitz really ever, which I think was maybe one of the only things he did well when he had to fill in. He doesn't have instincts, right? Like, I don't know what they see, because he's not doing anything right at the moment. And I mean, Josh Woods is limited. He's like a 6-year vet who's barely played defense, but at least in the preseason, he was like making the right read and getting to the right gap. Like, we're not even asking for a plus player at middle linebacker. We're just asking for someone that's not a disaster. And like, you could see it. Most of the Dolphins' plays were just taking advantage of Bertrand. They knew he wouldn't get enough depth in his zone, so they would just throw it right behind him. They would run right at him because he couldn't shed blocks. They would run right at him because even if he had a shot at the runner, he would get pushed back. Like, this is the first time I think that I've had to ask serious questions about Jeff Ulbrich, because this, like, you can't watch this man and think that he can play for you at middle linebacker. Like, over and over and over again. I felt bad because it's like every drive I'm pointing out, Bertrand messed this up. Bertrand messed this up. Bertrand messed this up. Like, I don't want to be doing this. Why can't you stop this from happening? Put in anyone else. Play a third safety. Play Josh Woods. You have Ronnie Harrison on the active roster now. Play him. Like, you're just throwing this man to the wolves every single play, and you're killing the defense. The rest of the defense was playing okay. Like, it's going to be hard for them when the offense lays an egg to this degree ever. But, like, the Dolphins were eating JD Bertrand alive, and it destroyed the entire defense. And we didn't see a single adjustment all game. I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, Ulbrich should be better than this.
It also encapsulates the Falcons' coaching staff in a nutshell. Like, they just can't make adjustments. Like, unless they start fast this year, like every game they've lost. Like, okay, the Bucs game was somewhat, it was back and forth. It was good. But you look at Panthers debacle, you look at the Niners loss, and I look at this. Like, when they start slow, they don't adjust. And I don't know how you do that, especially against a Dolphins team. Like, you know what the Dolphins, if there's one thing the Dolphins can do, they're going to run a bunch of screens, a bunch of play action, get a couple crosses. They're going to attack the middle of the field. They're going to throw in between the numbers. And how are you not going to have a linebacker there that's well equipped to handle that? Like, you saw repeatedly. Even on those, like, what, 3rd and 8, I forgot which receiver or tight end was. Like, Bertrand's just there in position, like body to body, and he just does not react to it. Like, you talk about the lack of instincts. It was just baffling. And look, who knows where Troy Anderson is at this point? I don't even think anyone really counted him, but it's grim. And it's just the fact that you know what Miami's offense does. Like, they haven't really evolved over the past few years. People have criticized them for not playing real football, and I think you could say that kind of is accurate. And they did it today. And Adnan, I like that you mentioned before about, you know, Kirk Cousins taking up $40 million in cap. That limited them because they just basically had to throw a bunch of young guys at defensive tackle. Like, this team cannot stop the run. Like, they're undersized. And look, they might get efforts. Dorless had a couple nice moments. Sam Roberts contributes a little bit, but I think them not having like a veteran outside on Yamada who can't two-gap, he's not someone that's going to command double teams all that effectively. Like, they desperately need some sort of nose tackle, and they couldn't afford it this offseason. Like, they could have got like someone like a Puna Ford. That would have been huge, but they couldn't afford it because largely of the Kirk Cousins contract. So, once again, roster destruction.
Yeah, the depth was paper thin. And I do applaud Ulbrich. Like, this defense with the starters was clearly one of the elite defenses of the NFL. And, like, they've had healthy defenses in years past that were awful, right? And so I still want to give, you know, Ulbrich credit. And like this defense is down not more than just Divine Diablo, right? Jalen Walker's maybe their like second best run defender. Zach Harrison probably also in the running for like second. So they were gonna be sore against the run until at least they get at least some of those guys back. But
they've
Bertrand's
been pretty
so
poor all
bad.
season, though. They've
Yeah,
been pretty
they
bad.
haven't been great, but they were like, it was like enough. They could paper over it because of how good the pass defense was and how opportunistic they were, and they were getting pressure. And like, it just, I don't think you can survive. Like, JD Bertrand's like a 0. Like, if you could at least get like a 50 or like a 40, it would be something, but it's like a 0 out there. Like, he's not affecting the play at all.
The Niners have not ran the ball well at all this year. They bulldozed them last week. And the Niners, they're not an offensive line built to overwhelm really anybody. So that was concerning. And like, I don't think Taquan Graham has given him anything. And look, he had a couple of flashes, I don't know, 2021, 22, but he's never been someone that I feel like you could rely on. Like Taquan Graham was just more brief moments, but he wasn't, I don't think he's someone you should invest 20, 25 cents. I don't know what happened to Laquelle London.
Yeah, I think it's time to put London back out there because he's been fine.
What happened?
You know?
Yeah,
he's just been inactive for Taquan Graham, but Graham hasn't delivered. So I think it's time to put LaCale back out there. And Sam Roberts hasn't been perfect either, but he's made plays against the run. And I think they just have a small edge room, like especially without Harrison. Harrison was one of the guys they would put out there on the edge to give them more size. And Jalen Walker is like their best run defending edge, and he's not there either. So they're down to their pass rush specialists on the edge, so that's not helping. They're not overly big in the middle, and then when you don't have a linebacker that can back up, what you're getting up front, like they had the Dolphins stopped dead to rights. They had stuffed it up front, and Bertrand's just sitting there in the middle of the field watching Ollie Gordon escape the backfield and doing nothing. And it's just, you can't paper over middle linebacker. That's one position you have to, that guy, like, and this is like where I'll say, like, Paul Warlow has some of the same issues that JD Bertrand has, where like he's not overly powerful and like he's not overly good in coverage, but Warlow had good instincts. Warlow knew how to read the play and get in there, and he wouldn't always make a tackle and drive him back or something like that, but Warlow was usually in the right place at the right time and could at least contribute to making plays, which is why I think he was a great reserve linebacker, ended up playing several more seasons after Atlanta as a reserve linebacker and being relied upon by, he was relied upon by the Eagles at one point in one of their better years. So that's the difference between someone like Warlow, who I think is getting unfairly compared to Bertrand at this point, who is capable of making some plays, has good instincts, but is a limited player physically, versus Bertrand, who like really shouldn't be physically limited. 5th round pick, has some athleticism and stuff to his game, but just is not prepared mentally and is spending so much time thinking that he's not playing. And you can't have that at middle linebacker. There's just not enough time. The NFL's too fast. And if Bertrand's out there starting again next week, it's like we have to question what Jeff Ulbrich is seeing, or maybe we have to question, like, is Josh Woods that bad, really? Like that he's not better than 0, like at this point. So it's concerning to say the least.
And they gotta have a long-term plan now because Diablo's out 3 more games.
So it's probably a lot more. They said he might come back this season, but for IR doesn't mean just 4 games.
It's at least 4.
But good point. My bad. Because like you even saw someone like George Kittle. George Kittle ended up missing, I think, 6 games, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 5. So, good point on that. I don't know. We haven't really talked much about the offense. We're
gonna do that now. We'll do that. We'll do a couple more donations.
Kirk Cousins talk.
We got one. I got one more in me. This is the last time we're ever going to talk about Kirk Cousins, apparently. But we got Raymond with the 2 saying the best run came under center. Pistol sucks. Well, it's not really the pistol. Like, again, it's more just that teams know exactly what plays the Falcons are running based on the motion. And I agree, the pistol isn't necessarily the most advantageous formation to run on all of these runs, but I don't think the pistol itself is the reason. It's more that the Falcons are running like a middle school playbook that is just basically telegraphing every single play by the motions that they run. And the fact that they haven't figured this out yet is insane to me. You can't do this. We got George with the 2 saying, to be fair, we did see some improvement from last week. Not once did we have 10 guys on defense, though admittedly I was counting every play when the Dolphins were just running the field on us. And no, Kevin, I think the Carolina game was worse. I don't think it was. I think the Panthers are clearly a better team with Bryce Young than the Dolphins were at any point. So
I mean, they beat the Dolphins too.
yeah, exactly. So the Dolphins were a far worse team. So this is really inexplicable.
I
But
don't think people have watched the Dolphins, which is understandable. But like, if you just follow general NFL news, the Dolphins have almost every week made a mockery of themselves. Like they just got blown up by the Browns. Like, comprehend this.
yeah, it's wild stuff. Ryan H with the 5 says the best part of being a Falcons fan is knowing that one day the cold embrace of the grave will save me from this team. Well, we've always got that. We've always got that existential dread to keep us honest. We got Rise Up RXN with the 5 saying, Bertrand is awful, involved in every bad play, telegraphed offensive play calling, fire everyone. We got Painful Quandary 8181 with the Australian $8. What's up, Australia? Saying, let the record show that I never once believed in this godforsaken team. So shown. The record will reflect that from now on. We got Love Dogs Avery with the 2. Not old enough to drink, but today might be the day. Well, just wait a little longer, Avery. There's plenty of time to ruin your liver in the future. You don't need to start today. This team will destroy you. Don't worry, you'll get ample opportunities in the future, so you don't need to rush that. We got Maddie Ghost with the 5 saying, loved Kirk and that weak-ass arm today. Where are my Kirko lovers at? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place to start here, where there was this like pervasive belief by a certain section of the fan base that like we're holding this offense back by playing Michael Penix and not Kirk Cousins. And, you know, I think there are certain things that Kirk probably does better than Penix, right? Like processing, he should be better. I mean, I would be shocked if Penix was a faster processor than Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins has played over 10 years in the NFL, right? I mean, that should be obvious. Kirk throws better touch passes typically. That's just like, that's always been one of his strengths, I think. But like we saw last year what happens when Kirk Cousins isn't protected, and we saw the limitations of his game. And to me, that was like, I'm not willing really to say that like he's better than Penix. I mean, I think he'd be different. There'd be different problems every single week. But I think this game just goes to show you like the grass isn't always greener, guys. Like just because there's another quarterback on the bench doesn't mean he's going to handle the same adversity and the same issues, which were on full display again from a play calling standpoint, from an offensive line standpoint. It doesn't mean he's going to handle it any better. And I think this was the nail in the coffin for Kirk Cousins' career as a starter, where just he was just not prepared. Like this was his chance to show off for the Vikings. This was his chance to get traded and prove that he could be a starter in the NFL. And he failed at worse than you could possibly imagine. He shit the bed today. And his career is probably over as a result. No one's going to take a chance on Kirk Cousins after this. The worst defense in the NFL. He delivers this performance. So I don't want to hear it from anyone saying Kirk Cousins would save the day. I mean, maybe a handful of quarterbacks in the NFL could save the day with this scheme. Kirk Cousins is certainly not one of them. So.
No. That missed, particularly one with David Stills, where I think it was like a stop route. He airmailed at least like 8 yards out of bounds. Like there was I would like to hear both your guys take the one with Mooney. Like Mooney created separation, really good release, but I don't know if Cousins thought it was like more, he was going to go more of like a dig than a post. Like I don't know. There's the first incompletion of Mooney, if you guys remember. Do you think that was fully on Kirk, or do you think it was like a timing issue, or did Mooney run the wrong route?
I think it was probably a choice route and I would have to guess that Kirk probably read it incorrectly. Given like the total context of the game, I'm inclined to think that Kirk was just not reading these correctly because he did it so many times. But that's the thing with choice routes, is like they are difficult, and like it requires both the quarterback and the wide receiver to make the right decision. And again, I think it's part of the overall problem with this offense. But I think that was Kirk's problem, not Mooney's.
You saw it on this is sort of, it has to do with the choice routes, but you saw it on the quarterback like documentary with Kirk last year. That choice route had like some issues for him last season, in that he always likes the receiver running it a certain way. He always likes the receiver sitting every time, but it's like that takes away the purpose of the choice route. Just make it a sit route then. So it's like he'll always like yell at his receiver for not like sitting in there on the choice route, but it's like that's the name of the route, like it's the receiver's choice.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but go ahead, Alan.
It was just that moment too. But I don't know, it just seemed like he had no chemistry with anyone. Like him and Mooney were on point pretty much the whole year. Like they were thriving last season before everything went awry for Cousins. But for them to not really click, and like I guess Kyle Pitts was cool to see him get a couple moments, but it was just like 3 or 4 instances you watched Cousins just like, oh, he is completely overwhelmed right now. We know his lack of pocket mobility, but the fact that even the accuracy's gone and like the inability to push the ball downfield, it really limited them. And then we were about like bad play calls, and look, the game was over. But that 4th and 7 screen to Kyle Pitts, like that's just like we are throwing in the towel. Like, do you think Zac Robinson called it just because he had enough of like seeing Kirk Cousins, or it just an indictment of how bad this coaching staff is? Because I thought that 4th and 7 screen to Pitts was
Oh my God,
one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm so mad. Like, what's the success rate of a screen on 4th and 7? Like, less than 10%. Like,
and the screens to Pitts have gone nowhere this year. Like we saw last week against the Niners, it went for -2. Like why him? But then again, it's 4th and 7.
Yeah, there's no, like, you can't call a screen on that play ever. You can have like Pitts run out there as like a dump off option if like you're getting a blitz or something, or if that's like if the screen there is like a hot in case you see the linebackers crash or something like that, or you see the corner blitz or whatever. But like just straight up call, like that was a designed screen to Kyle Pitts on 4th and 7. Like, and again, I think we saw another play where it's like what you need to do if you want Pitts to have success in that short yardage situation is you need to get him on the move a little bit, because once he gets going, I think he actually has really good body control and he can move a little bit. But those first few steps take a while because he is huge, right? I mean, he's got long limbs. It takes a second for him to get up to speed, and he's not going to have those Bijan-like cuts, which is what you typically need. Like that screenplay, typically you got to make someone miss, and if you do, you could get a big gain on it. But if you can't make someone miss, you're going to get tackled for loss half the time, and it's just a dumb play. And we saw like Pitts was like the offense. Like he had 9 receptions. Like, this man is completely turned around what he was. He's now become the short option where like the Falcons last year wouldn't trust him in the short yardage area. They wouldn't trust him to make any play. He's getting open on these short routes. He's finding the space. He's trying to make people miss. Like that he's like turned it around to such an extent. And the fact that like Pitts, I think, has really like come into his own and become a much more like well-rounded tight end. Like I feel like he's a 3-down tight end now. Is he as good of a blocker as George Kittle or those like elite run blockers? Absolutely not, but he's fine as a blocker, and like he's showing you the receiving ability now. And even then, it's like all they could do is draw up screens or like little quick outs for him or something. It's like this man should be one of the staples of an intermediate passing game, and I think that's the biggest issue I have with Zac Robinson. I've got on a tangent here, I apologize. There's no intermediate passing game. And it's not Penix. It's not Cousins. It's Robinson. He didn't design an intermediate passing game for this offense. It's egregious.
And with Pitts, I like that he has a big feel for the game. Like I feel like it's like you see like after he catches, like his movement in certain instances, like he just has a better feel for defenders and how he's taking better angles. So if we go back one positive outside of Caden Ellis, because I thought Caden Ellis, once again, as soon as the Panthers game, Caden Ellis did about 4 or 5 cool things. Besides that, Kyle Pitts is probably the only one. But I don't.
The other play that really shows you the lack of confidence in this offense overall was that 3rd and 10 run play, where sure, I get it. You're like in the shadow of your own goalpost, whatever. You're in your own territory, but that's just you're just sort of giving the ball like away. You're just giving the ball up at that point, because it's like you're not gonna I want to say you're punting it, because you literally are punting it, but like you're literally and figuratively like punting the possession away in that scenario. And that was a point in the game where I think the Falcons were down. It's like you don't trust your veteran quarterback at all to like, even try to get this first down on 3rd and 10. It's not like it was 3rd and 25 where it's like, all right, call a screen pass, do whatever. But yeah, that's something where I was just like, okay, like there's just no confidence in this offense from the play callers right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how you watch last week's film against the Niners and see how much the passing game struggled. Like how they've made no attempt to like have tryouts or call up someone from the practice squad. Like this team needs wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing there right now.
They called up Dylan Drummond and they didn't give him a snap.
Like play him.
Yeah, like give him a chance, like anybody. But like David Sills is not an NFL starting receiver. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, he can block, but what does that matter? Like, what does that matter at this point? Like, it doesn't. Like, he can't separate. And when he does, Cousins can't hit him. Like that little out route or whatever where Cousins just completely airmailed it over him. Like, he did have a couple yards of separation, but like not a dynamic player, not able to be used really in any interesting ways outside of maybe just a Drake London backup. So maybe this is the ideal game to have him, but like, I feel the same about Casey Washington. It's like they just have a bunch of possession receivers out there. There's no juice. Like Darnell Mooney's the only guy with juice outside of Kyle Pitts and Bijan, and they played Bijan they took Bijan off the field on all these third downs. It's like what are we doing here? Like they've got no juice. The play calls are apparently being snuffed out by every defense they play, even the very worst ones, and like. The offensive line's taking a crap on the field. No, they don't. Now the offensive line's failing too. It's like there's just no way to overcome this.
That was one of the few effective things they did last year with the bunches. Like, what happened to the stacks? Like, we're not even seeing that much anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about the defense, and I mean, with Mike McDonald, I guess you could say he was sort of having his tryout to possibly be the Falcons OC next year. But I mean, who knows what'll happen with the coaching staff? But it's like one thing that would have that normally annoys the hell out of me, like just on the defensive side, is when my team is on offense and you have that 2nd and 10 run play. I don't remember the amount of times the Dolphins called a 2nd and 10 run and it just went for like 8 yards or went for like a first down. And it's like, this isn't supposed to be a good, effective play. Like you should be celebrating when the other team draws up like a run on 2nd and 10, but no, like every time they just gash the Falcons on that play over and over again.
Yeah. It just the run defense is obviously a huge problem. There's just no way around that. I think JD Bertrand playing has a lot to do with it. You can't cover up that sort of problem at middle linebacker, especially like when you don't have the guys up front that you want because of injuries. Zach Harris and Jalen Walker, 2 of your best run defenders are out. Billy Bowman's one of your better run defenders in the secondary. And then you're playing a 0 at middle linebacker that's actively hurting you. Like you just can't paper over that. There's no way. So
on the right side, they do play Jonathan Taylor in 2 weeks.
There we go. Yeah.
In a standalone
Fire
game.
him up. Yeah. Bet all the overs on Jonathan Taylor that week.
Folks, have a great breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're going to be having our morning. Like my eyes will just open and the Falcons will be kicking off. So it's that'll be great.
Oh, God. It's going to be rough.
Do you think we got to have a conversation about Jesse Bates?
Yes.
I think it might be time.
We do.
He might have a serious injury. He had an ankle injury and was immediately ruled out. So, I mean, who knows what's going on there?
I tweeted it out too. It's we may have to have some uncomfortable conversations. Bates has looked like he's regressed this year as a whole. We haven't really talked about him too much because the defense has been kicking ass everywhere else. But it's in this game, you really saw him hinder you on defense. For one, say what you want about Bertrand. He should have had that interception on that 3rd down for Miami in the first half. But Jesse Bates kind of knocked that ball out of his hands. And on Jalen Waddle's touchdown, Mike Hughes played got in his zone. Waddle looked like he just ran a basic slant pattern. And yeah, Jesse Bates just got cooked. Jesse Bates has to be the player there who gets his hands on Waddle and keeps him from going the distance. And when I saw that play, I was this sort of isn't the Jesse Bates we've grown accustomed to over the last couple of years. And I mean, just overall, he's had a pretty poor year, especially by his standards. But overall, it hasn't been great this year.
It's also missing more tackles. The Niners game, he missed about 3 in some crucial moments. And I thought that conversion McCaffrey on 3rd and 13, where they had only 10 players on the field, he was in his zone. And I don't know, I thought he should anticipate better. Because I think one of the best things about Jesse Bates is just he knows how to read the quarterback's eyes and just anticipate things. And he's just not doing that this year. I know he's playing a little bit more close to the box Falcons are playing Xavier Watts more as a deep line safety, but there's just moments like Bates set the bar so high his first 2 years here, and like the fact that now it's kind of a non-factor. And then when he's in a position where you expect him to make plays, he's just not doing it. Like the Bills game, for instance, on the touchdown to Dawson Knox. So, I mean, that's a huge loss, because on a game like today where you knew the defense was missing key players, like I think Zach Harrison's played at a very high level this year. We know what Billy Bowman and Joe Walker could bring. So you need players around them to elevate. Like other than Caden Ellison, occasionally Anyamata, and I thought Brad Darrell, once again, I want to mention, had some moments, but besides that, nobody did much defensively today, and some ugly penalties by the corners as well. Like AJ Terrell got caught on a pretty bad PI, and I don't think Mike Hughes is holding up that well effectively as a starter either. So, I mean, the list of issues you could go on.
Yeah, it's just super rough, and when even Bates is underperforming, that hurts, and it is like a new role for him. So like I think, and he hasn't been actively bad, like really at any point. I mean, like last week, I think he really struggled. This week, I think he really struggled. So up until recently, it's been more like that he's just been kind of doing his job, but not doing what you would expect from a guy you're paying that kind of money to, where he's not really being the force multiplier, being the impact player that you want. So we need to see that from him. I mean, he should be one of the staples of this defense. He just hasn't been this year so far. But Bates is also one of those guys. It's like he could be dealing with something. Like this team is not forthcoming about injuries. Like it's possible he is dealing with an injury, and we'll see what happens there. But
he got hurt very late in the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible they were just like, we're not putting you back yet.
Yeah,
like,
it is, but it also goes back to the question of, why is Raheem Morris keeping all of these starters in this game that's a complete blowout, when apparently he's not going to start anyone in preseason to avoid injury? How is this any different?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it didn't, like, them going for that onside kick was hilarious. Like, which is funny because it's also funny because Pinion absolutely nailed that kick. That was picture perfect onside. And they had, Zach, they had, Felipe Franks as the hands man. So that, I'm just going to laugh about that forever. Like, somehow we thought like Felipe Franks as the hands guy was going to work out for us in any situation. But yeah, just like, you think you're winning this? You think you have a shot? It's 31-3 or 31-10 with 5 minutes left, and you're going for an onside kick. You don't have a shot to win this game. There is no chance. 3-possession game with 5 minutes to go, and you're seriously thinking you have a chance. You don't. Like, that is almost impossible. It's ridiculous. It's delusional. Like, you can't save this. Like, this is over. It's been over all day. Like, garbage time started before you played the previous drive. Like, I mean, it's just hilarious to me. And you're right. Like, they're risking starters to injury, down 3-4 scores late in the game, and it's irresponsible.
But it's also inconsistent. It's like, okay, if you're one of those people that's just like, all right, like Dan Campbell does it in Detroit, where he's just going to step on your neck no matter what, if you're up 20, if you're down 20, whatever. But it's like, don't preach to me about, oh, we're not going to play anyone in preseason because we don't want to risk injury. And then you risk injury by not only playing the starters in garbage time, but you also like play these starters on special teams too. And it's like, what's the message here? What's the philosophy? It sounds like he's just throwing shit against the wall and just like seeing what's going to stick.
Yeah, it's rough out there. It's really rough. So let me get to the final few questions here before we start wrapping up. We got Solaire with the 5. Thank you again, Solaire. Says, we need a franchise-changing coach, someone with a proven track record and offensive-minded. Folks, it's so obvious. We need to hire Mike McCarthy. Oh, God. I thought you were going to say Mike McDaniel.
I was waiting.
Man.
I knew it was Solaire.
Yeah, I knew we were.
Like, as soon as you started reading the question, I was just trying to wonder. It's like, who's he?
Okay, where are we going?
Yeah.
I thought you might go Arthur Smith. If you're saying Mike McCarthy or Mike McDaniel, I think there actually is an argument for Mike McDaniel because the Dolphins are going to go right back to sucking after this, and McDaniel's going to get fired. But
I think Mike McDaniel was a fine head coach. It's just he's very unlucky that Tua just like sort of had to go through everything he had to go through. Like before Tua's injury, like McDaniel and the Dolphins were cooking over there for a while.
Yeah.
I think there's red flags though. Like
Yeah.
you hear stuff about players being late to meetings. The fact that basically Vic Fangio said, "I can't do nothing here," and Vic Fangio is like the defensive king when it comes to coaching. Like Vic Fangio, he said, "I can't work with this." Like when you have someone like Vic Fangio,
I'm not advocating for McDaniel to be the next head coach, but honestly, like that would be a better hire than Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris had no like track record.
I mean, yeah, we're setting the bar very low.
Yeah.
Like I think we aspire like for Joe Brady or someone on the but like, dude, you know what the worst thing with Mike McCarthy is? He has such a good PR team. Like when he got hired by Dallas, he was like putting out feelers like, okay, I've been in PFF's headquarters. I'm working with analytics now. And he came back to coaching and nothing changed. Like he was running the same slant flat concept that the Packers were running for like 6 years. Like he would be such an underwhelming hire, but he has such like the resume and the PR team that I could see Arthur Blank falling in love with him. So
Falcons,
I'd be concerned if that I would, because I just don't think Mike McCarthy. Look, he is credible. Like Dallas has had winning seasons, but there's no way you could convince me Mike McCarthy's going to bring a championship to any franchise.
That's a boring retread, albeit it would be a better hire than with the Falcons. Just at this point, it's like I'm not surprised with anything because this last hire was so like it was out of left field in the worst way. I mean, look, my dream scenario, if you really want a culture changer, if his team is stupid enough to let him go, would be Mike Tomlin. Ooh. Like if the Steelers decide, all right, like, you know, we want to part ways with Tomlin. We're not, you know, having, I don't know, whatever dumb reason. I think that would be stupid to let Tomlin go, even though I do see some Steelers fans, ungrateful Steelers fans, talking about, oh, it's time for him to like leave. You know, we're not winning enough. Even though they haven't had a losing season in like 17 years, try living what we've lived through for the last 7 years. But that's like, I would go full court press. Like that's a guy that will change the culture of this building. But, you know, I don't think he's going to be available. But, you know, it's October, so we might as well have fun with some of these scenarios because we're hopefully going to have a very long time to evaluate new head coaching candidates.
1,000% agree with you on that.
Yeah, the Falcons aren't going to have their pick of the litter, guys, after they move on from Raheem Morris, which I believe at this point that this will be the last season of Raheem Morris in Atlanta. So they're not going to have a first-round pick. They do have Penix, who I think is a plus for them. I think they have the bones of a good defense. If I was another coaching candidate, I would be trying to keep Jeff Ulbrich in this defense around and intact if possible. But that's why I keep coming back to Mike McDaniel, because again, they're not going to get the top candidates. They're going to have to go for a second or third tier candidate. With Mike McDaniel, we know he can call a good offense. Maybe that's enough for this team if he can be paired with like Jeff Ulbrich, who we know can call a good defense. Maybe that could work out. Again, everything you guys said about there being red flags galore and issues with the hire, absolutely true. But there's probably not going to be a clean choice for the Falcons at head coach.
I'd be curious about Jesse Minter coming from Harbaugh. I know, look, people are going to be turned off by the whole defensive coach, but I love what he's built with the Chargers, and they don't have a plethora of talent, and they just seem always well organized. Well, that defense rarely beats itself, and the Chargers aren't a team that have overly spent. Like they're still a team kind of in transition. So I'd be curious about that, and also just respect what Harbaugh's built.
Speaking of Harbaugh, but not that Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh. What about Todd Monken?
I love Monken. I would be all for that, but I don't think the Falcons are going to have. I mean, I guess this year has kind of depressed his value, maybe. I mean, I don't know. You could probably blame
Lamar
it on
Jackson's been out. Like, what do you expect with Cooper Rush?
Right,
I would not this year against him. But
so, I agree. If they can get Monken, I'm in. So
I just wonder if organizations are kind of like turned off that, was he like 58 years old, offense coordinator? I don't know. I feel like last year he should have got a lot more interest, and it didn't seem like he got any interest.
Yeah, I mean, he was great at UGA up until this year, which, again, he has Cooper Rush, and now Tyler Huntley is his quarterback for most of the year. He's been really, really strong in Baltimore. Like, I feel like the track record is there. And maybe that red flag of him being, you know, a 58-year-old OC can work in Atlanta's favor to where, all right, maybe like these top, like, you know, organizations that are going to be open don't give him a look, and then he falls into a second or third tier team, which is exactly where the Falcons are going to be.
Yeah. Everybody's saying John Gruden. You're absolutely delusional if you think Blank would
Stop it.
Blank would never interview John Gruden. So
by the way, I don't know if the chat room has mentioned this, but Steve Sarkisian.
Let's go. Let's go.
That would be pure chaos at that point.
Oh God, just for the memes, honestly. Like I'm in for that alone. Just
we're talking about organization could not bring back someone they once had, and they just bring back the Sark.
That would be the most on brand hire I can imagine. So yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
And how do you feel about it? As someone that was very critical of Raheem Morris, like the Sark vet.
Look, man, I'm good. I'm good on Sark. I don't think he's doing a very good job at Texas this year. Like I'd be shocked if Sark ends up getting a head coaching job in the NFL. But crazier things have happened for sure.
He's got Beach on the vouch for him.
There we go. Yeah. I don't think he's going to get it off.
It would be on brand for this team to let the players pick their next head coach. They're all about, guys that are buddy with the players.
Oh man. Crazy stuff. I didn't think we'd end up on Steve Sarkisian at the end of all this, but maybe that's just our penance. Apparently all Falcons fans have suffered great sins in past lives or something like that. So we're our penance is to follow this football team through mediocrity for eternity. So
someone said, "Why not just Bobby Petrino?"
Why don't we just go back there? Go all the way back. Yeah.
I'm not following the chat. What is the chat saying right now? And look, dismiss any John Gruden talk, but what other names are being mentioned?
Bobby Petrino, Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin.
Damn, can we get some
Jerry Glanville?
I need jokes right now.
Jerry Glanville.
Jim Bob Cooter. Yeah.
Dan Reeves,
Dan Reeves, yeah. Just go through the list.
Mike Smith's been.
Is Dirk Cutter available?
I love how you asked for a name and there were just 6 joke names that just got rapid fired one after the other.
Deion Sanders, there we go.
Oh God,
yeah, Marion Campbell.
Yeah, Marion Campbell. Yeah, I love it.
I think we need some
Rex Ryan.
Yeah, I like it.
Get him off the desk from ESPN.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. Let's just hire Matt Ryan. I don't even care.
No to hiring Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's a beloved figure in Atlanta. I don't want any of his reputation being tarnished.
I think he's also taken enough abuse from certain people, the fan base in Atlanta. So
yeah.
That CBS job is really nice too.
Yeah. I would love Matt Ryan to just continue doing what he does, come as a fan, come as to be honored at halftime and stuff like that. Don't please, or as a consultant, let him be a consultant, a very quiet consultant somewhere. Not
any quarterbacks coach for a competent staff somewhere. But
do you want it to be what Tom Brady's doing for the Raiders?
I mean,
can't be worse than what we have, right? I mean,
let him. I'm just saying, because it happens. It's maybe a franchise legend comes in, and he does a poor job as a head coach, and that just sort of destroys, or it sort of hurts the legacy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot with soccer. If you follow soccer, I don't want to mention too many names, but you look at Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard. I'm not trying to get people these famous English players that were so beloved. They go manage places and they just don't do well. So it's just hard for foreign players. I know Mike Vrabel's doing really well right now, but what other former players have really taken off in recent memory?
Yeah, not many, really.
I mean, Dan Campbell's doing his thing.
What, D'Amico Ryans?
Oh, I know they once said, but when it comes to grim Monday night games, I don't know if you guys watched Houston, Seattle, but
I did.
Offense, good.
That was painful. And just watch what they did to the 49ers, because the 49ers, in case everybody forgot, have no starters left on defense. They absolutely roasted them to pieces. That, one of the worst offenses in the NFL, Houston took the 49ers to task, and the Falcons couldn't move the ball. So yet another thing. Anybody can stop this offense because they know what plays are coming. I mean, it's it doesn't matter that you're way more talented when they know what plays are coming. I mean, it's just this is getting really sad. Where we're okay, over under 2 weeks before Zac Robinson is fired. Well, we'll see. Before or after the Colts game for Zac Robinson firing?
I'll say right after.
Yeah. Look, man, it should be tomorrow, Raheem Morris, but it's Yeah, I'll go with after.
Yeah, I think after the Colts game is probably the end. So we'll see. But got a couple more donations here. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. We got Moonstar with the 5, saying Ellis said we thought we should beat them. Unacceptable coaching allows this narrative to permeate the locker room. Hashtag Todd Monken 2026. I mean, look, Monken's like my favorite of all. Maybe one of my favorites of all the ones we brought up. So, George Costanza with the 2. Good news. I feel that Mike McDaniel won his Falcons interview / debut for 2026. So seriously, how bad have the Rams destroyed the Falcons here? Fowler, Raheem, our 2026 first, 6-11 ceiling. The Bucks are blessed to play in this division. 3 trash franchise. Yeah, I mean the Bucks can just kind of weather this sort of injuries and just coast to like a 10-win division title. Because this division is lifeless. I mean,
I like that he had mentioned Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that one.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, look, I wasn't crazy about the trade up. I love the idea of double dipping on pass rush, but like just the idea of trading up and like trading that first rounder next year, there's too much that could have gone wrong this year. And it just has it reeked of desperation. It reeked of letting a general manager who's on the hot seat completely sort of mortgage the next season to try and save his job this year, which is exactly what that move was. And honestly, that's on the owner. Like that's where Arthur Blank needs to step in and be like, yeah, like we're not letting you trade future picks to move up in this draft. But again, that's Arthur Blank. Goes back to him. It goes back to him being too loyal to Fontenot. It goes back to him being too afraid and too scared to really do what needs to be done, and him letting candidates stay here for way too long. And honestly, like I can't imagine how many years like he's cumulatively set this franchise back by doing just that.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the end of the Dimitroff era, where they basically like made it clear, Dimitroff, you're going into a must-win year, and then Dimitroff was like, okay, well, I'm going to mortgage the future in every possible way, picks, cap space, we're going all in, and then they were terrible, but they blew up their finances for like 2 years after that as a result. Like, if your coaches and GM are going into a season where they could be fired, like legitimately, you can't allow them to mortgage the future. And there's, I think, a good argument to be made that if you're going into that situation, you probably should just fire them anyway. Like if you're saying you can't do everything possible to win this year because we don't trust you, probably means you should just fire them. But like at the very least, you can't let them poison the well for the next regime, because this is now going to be the second time in a row that the Falcons have poisoned the well for the second regime, and it's going to affect their ability to get a new GM and a new head coach because they don't have a first round pick. The finances aren't nearly as bad as they were after the Dimitroff era, but like that's small concession when you're trying to attract a top candidate, and you can't do it because you gave too much reign to your previous regime that really probably didn't deserve to get the benefit of the doubt here. So it's unfortunate, but we got 2 more here. We got Corey with the 3. Can the group give me their faith in Blank's ability to hire his 7th head coach on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being none? Adnan, I'll let you go first.
3.
Alan?
God, my faith isn't very high, like in Arthur Blank right now, in any aspects as an owner, other than he made a nice facility.
Yeah. Alan, where are you at?
I was gonna go 3 too.
I was also going to go 3. So we're unanimously low on the Falcons hitting this hire correctly. I think Arthur Blank has given us every reason to be skeptical at this stage of his ability to evaluate head coaches. Just seems like he's lost his touch. I think he was kind of onto something with Mike Smith and Dan Quinn. I think those were 2 good hires. I also agree with the hire of Arthur Smith, even though it didn't work out. And I think since then he's just lost it. And has kind of lost touch. So
is it also a bit of a red flag for Blank that he was the only one that interviewed Belichick, and we see what's going on with Belichick in North Carolina?
Yeah, I think the fact that they were interested in Belichick at all is a big red flag, because the rest of the NFL was like, hell no. We don't want this dude anywhere near our team. And they were right. At least they didn't hire him. I mean, that would have been way worse. So
And look, they weren't the only team to pass on Vrabel, but it's just like you watch the Patriots and like how refreshing they are, and it's just like guys fight for Mike Vrabel, and
Yeah.
I just feel like there's certain organizations that are just afraid of like having that ultra alpha as a coach, like we see with the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys have a decent year, but there's no way Jerry Jones would hire someone like Mike Vrabel, for instance. And I just wonder if Arthur Blank is just he kind of just goes to beat his own drum, and he just doesn't want someone that could totally take over the organization. Not that it's going to be like a power struggle, but I just once again he makes things too cozy, and I just think that's kind of the theme around Atlanta. It's just things are too nice when they haven't made the playoffs since 2017. There's only 3 teams that haven't made the playoffs since 2020: the Falcons, Panthers, and the Jets. Like when you're in the same category as the Panthers and the Jets, things are a joke.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, the guys that Arthur Blank hires are always these nice guys. Like look back post Petrino, like Petrino was an asshole. Sure, it didn't work out. But then after that, Mike Smith, very nice guy. Dan Quinn, everyone loved him. After that, Arthur Smith tried to pretend like he tried to like do that asshole persona. Arthur Smith was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like you interacted with him in the facility. He may have been like, an asshole to the media, but that he's like a very nice man. Raheem Morris, same ilk. And it's like, I feel like, now I'm with you, Alan. I feel like Arthur Blank is just sort of scared of hiring someone that's willing to rock the boat a little bit. He's scared of hiring someone that, the players aren't going to absolutely love, and someone who's not going to like make this, cozy, comfy family atmosphere that they keep preaching about. It's like, yeah, I'm glad that you have such a great, work environment as the team wins another 7 games. And, except this year they sacrificed their first rounder. I'd much rather have an asshole who's going to take this team to the playoffs. You think the Patriots gave a shit that Bill Belichick, didn't have the love of the players? Like he won 7 titles over there.
Yeah. It seems like we're just kind of, I mean, I don't think it's like, personally, it's like, I think you can win with nice guys. You can win with assholes. Like you should consider everybody. And I feel like maybe it's not necessarily that the Falcons have gone with the nice guys. It's that they don't seem to be considering the guys that are a little gruffer and a little bit more rough around the edges, when they should. Like they should be considering all options. I think it's clear that you can have a hard ass approach and be successful, and you can have a nice approach and be successful, but you just have to find the best guy. And I think limiting yourself to one or the other would be a mistake. And I think that's a mistake that they've made so far. Like not really seriously considering a Mike Vrabel, for example, that I think was clearly the best option of that group based on what we've seen so far. So we got Grant Watson with the $2. Parker Romo making a field goal was the only positive today. I'll give Bradley Pinion credit for that.
Hey, Caden Ellis, man.
Caden Ellis was good. Yeah.
He's good, man.
Yeah,
hey,
Caden Ellis was good.
That field goal right down the middle from 45. It was right there.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
That was fine. I liked it. Love Dov Avery with the 2 says, we sacrificed the Braves for this. Well, we didn't sacrifice anything. The Braves just, struggled. So clearly there was no sacrificing involved. Maybe if we'd made it more clear that we were sacrificing them, it would have worked. But didn't seem to be effective.
All of this is set up for a Hawks championship run. But
there we go.
Still gotten off to a poor start.
Yeah. We gotta. Somebody's gotta pick it up here.
Yes. All of this losing isn't for nothing. Like we need someone to pick up the baton here.
Yeah. So something's got to go right here with all this terribleness. Something's got to go right. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Real quick look at the Falcons, who have now fallen. This is per FanDuel to plus 250 to make the playoffs. So they are now. You could double your money if you bet the Falcons to make the playoffs at this point, which is really bad sign for this team. I
will not take that bet.
I would not take that bet either, for the record. I think the Falcons are dead in the water. I think this is the beginning of the end for Raheem Morris and this staff, and we'll see how long it takes for it to officially be the end. But this was, I think, just the nail in the coffin for, like, we can't trust this team to you have to get these layup wins. If you want to win 10 games, you have to get the layup wins, because there's a lot of tough games you still need to go win, and they can't get the layup wins. So they can't make the playoffs. They can't do it. So And if they do it, I'll eat my words. I'll go buy a Raheem Morris, signed jersey or something. If they end up making the playoffs after this disastrous start, I don't even know if those exist, but I'll buy some kind of jersey, some Falcon, whoever saves them the most. If it's Bijan, maybe it's a Bijan jersey, whatever. But I'll buy somebody's jersey if they make the playoffs after this.
What
get
about an
somebody's
Oklahoma State visor for Zac Robinson?
There we go. If Zac Robinson turns it around, I'll buy some kind of Oklahoma State merch to celebrate. But don't think we have to worry too much about that at this point, unfortunately. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and joining us here. We're gonna get through this season as best we can. We'll be here for you guys every week, no matter what. And if we have to start looking into new options at coaching, then we will. If we have to talk about second round draft, day 2 draft, then we will. We will find a way to make it work, even if the team on the field can't. But we'd much rather talk about this team making the playoffs for the first time. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen now.
Can I mention one last thing?
Yeah, go for
just
it.
About the state of the franchise, and I hope fans have every right to be outraged. Make your voices heard. Try not to be overly disrespectful, but I understand this team has hit rock bottom every year since 2019. 2019 start 1-7. 2020 0-5 start. 2021 the home opener against the Eagles, where it was 34-0. Which what a start for Arthur Smith in his era. 2022 decent season, but you had Deshaun Watson. I thought was kind of rock bottom, just being involved with that fiasco. 2023 losing to a 1-win Panthers team, and you could probably mention 3 other moments with Desmond Ridder. Last year I thought the Chargers game was rock bottom, where Cousins got picked off 4 times and they couldn't score the red zone. It's just really depressing how since 2019 there's a new rock bottom, and it just seems like it's getting worse and worse, and this is the latest one. And so I feel for all the fans, and you have every right to voice your anger, and you have a right to not even watch if you want to. So I hope we're doing what we can to cover and bring you entertainment, but definitely keep voicing your opinions, because today was as bad as a coaching job as you've seen in just watching this team over the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, really rough stuff. We got one final under the wire here from George. Thank you, George. Says, we need to hire Matt Ryan. Adnan was at his most fun and happiest when he was the resident Matt Ryan hater. Let's bring back the good times and let Adnan reprise his role. Also, the Falcons are terrible because Adnan won't get the chocolate Twizzlers. We figured it out, George. That's why this team is cursed, because Adnan hasn't found the chocolate Twizzlers.
Yeah,
I was wondering where the monkey paw curled, and it was probably because of that. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'll fall on the knife unilaterally on this.
Yeah, definitely Adnan not getting chocolate Twizzlers. Not Zac Robinson being incompetent, and Raheem Morris being incompetent. That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the chocolate Twizzlers. Yeah.
I will say, ever since I joined the Falcons, we've never made the playoffs.
Yeah, well, we already, we knew that, but I wouldn't trade, Adnan's analysis is priceless, so it can't really be that, right? I mean, it can't really be Adnan keeping this team out of the playoffs. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so.
Man, I think I joined 1 week after our last playoff game, too, so.
Yeah, but thank you, guys. Thanks to Adnan, of course. He's at Say Which Way. Thanks to Allen Strk. He's at Allen Strk. Very easy to remember. I'm, of course, Kevin. I have Falcoholic Kevin. Thanks again to FanDuel for sponsoring today's episode of the Falcoholic Live. Guys, we will be back with Tuesday Takes, regrettably breaking down the film from this disgusting loss, and probably talking about a lot of this, probably just roasting JD Bertrand over and over and over again, because if I can see you making obvious mistakes on live watch, it's going to be really rough on the All-22. So I think it's going to be a rough one. But yeah, tough stuff there. We'll be back with all the shows you guys need next week, talking about maybe some more future-focused stuff, talking about, obviously, they're going into must-win territory with these next 2 games. They got to steal at least one, or they're in big trouble. It's going to be a rough stretch. These are 2 tough opponents, and the Falcons don't really look up to beating anyone at this stage, so we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe. If you've enjoyed the show, obviously you haven't enjoyed the product on the field, but if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. You can also support the show by joining the Patreon, patreon.com/FalcohawkLive, or the YouTube channel memberships. Appreciate everyone who's contributing there. You guys are the MVPs. We appreciate you. And of course, thanks to everyone for hanging out and chatting and making this just a little bit more bearable every Sunday. So until next time, guys, I'm Kevin for Alan and Adnan as well. We will see you guys next time on the Falcaholic Live. Have a great rest of your Sunday, folks. See ya.